Howdy, everybody. It's your pal Misty. Sit back, relax, and enjoy. It's time for a live stream. It's Monday night. Several of y'all are already here. Thank you for being here. I see Diana is here. Cheryl. Mary just finished her C2 5K training. Natasha is here. Hello, everybody. Happy Monday. Thank you for being here. As always, we will give it a few minutes of me just chatting before we get into any conversations this evening. So I will start with, how was my week? It was long and painful, which doesn't sound very fun, and it wasn't there for several days, but it is much better now. So last week at some point, I ended up getting a flare-up of my skin condition, and boy, howdy, it hurts. I forget just how painful it can be there. So I ended up not doing my live stream with my coach, Kirsten, last week. She actually also just by coincidence got really sick. So she was really sick, and then I wasn't feeling my best because of the flare-up of my skin condition. So we canceled that live stream. So as an update to that, and I'll be announcing it again, but we are going to do that this week is our plan. We're just rescheduling for this Thursday, which is the 19th at 7 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Central. So I didn't work out on Thursday. I didn't work out on Friday. I did not do my Couch to 5K training on Friday. And Saturday morning, I joined the 30-minute Fit Squad workout, and it was tough. The flare-up that I have right now is like partly in my belly button is the best way to explain it. And so one really good thing about my fitness level now is that I use my core for a whole bunch of stuff. And the bad part now is that I have a big old flare on my stomach, which is the front part of my core, which I use a lot. And so it was kind of rough on Saturday. Then on Sunday, we went for our walk. Natasha actually cheered for people who were doing like the half marathon in Houston. And so Mary and I walked, but I only made it one lap around, like 2 miles. And I kind of lost my balance. I wasn't watching where I was going and kind of twisted it a little bit, and felt like somebody was jabbing me with an ice pick. So we just called it a day there. But I did my boot camp this morning. It was strength, so not a lot of fast movements, just a lot of slow, heavy movements. But I could do most of them. There were just a few that I had to modify overhead things because, again, the overhead was impacting my core. So, however, much better. My pain level is now like nothing to like a 1 or a 2 at certain points. I've been taking some ibuprofen to help with the pain. So it's been a while since I've had one, and they're not very fun. So I still have not resumed my Couch to 5K training because the thought of my belly jiggling is not, it doesn't feel like that would be a good thing right now. So I'm going to resume it. I'm going to try to pick it back up just on whatever day I feel ready. I'm thinking maybe by Wednesday, because it's healing very nicely. It wasn't very large comparatively to other ones that I've had. So that's sort of how my week has gone. Long, a little bit painful, a little bit nauseated. I had to cancel a live stream. Missed Derek's live stream on Saturday. But I did get to meet my new little niece, have a fun baby time with little Charlotte, who's, she's crazy, but she's sweet. And then Colin, their older brother, he's fun. He was watching Avatar and asking me 10 bazillion questions. And then the rest he was just making up, convinced that he was right. His mom was like, is that what's going to happen? I'll be like, no, that's not what's happening. But it was a good visit. So that's where we are. That should give it y'all time to join in a little bit. Let's see. I saw that my mama was here. Oh, and Mike is listening too. Hey, Mike. Lexi. Hey, Lexi. Like saying hello. Marcy is here. Hello, Marcy. And Marcy is telling everybody hello. So hello and happy Monday. So yeah, not my best week ever, but it was actually one thing that I was talking to Kirsten about, because she's still not taking back up her running yet either, because she got really sick. And she said she hasn't been this sick in a long time, and managing her activity level has become very important. And so that's one of the things that I respect, is that she talks the talk and she walks the walk. And so that's what I try to do, is say what I say and do what I say, right? I try to live what I talk about. And that's why I like being here with y'all chatting about things. And so one of the things that I wanted to cover and talk about this evening is delayed versus instant gratification, right? So, hello, Hyla. Hyla's in the chat. Thanks for being here. So, we're just going to sort of jump right into it tonight. If y'all have any thoughts, anything you'd like to share in the chat, as always, of course, I'd love to hear your take on it. It really kind of started because, or the reason that I started thinking about it recently was because, oh, Tracy's here. Hello, Tracy. We have not even yet started talking about time zones or anything. But I've been doing my ACE, the American Council on Exercise, my personal trainer certification. And so the chapter that I was in is about behavior change. And so I was talking to my coach, Kirsten, about it, because she is sort of my mentor through this process. And she was just asking me how studying was going, knowing that I'm just getting into it, right? And so I was telling her it's really very familiar. For those of you who don't know, I'm basically a training manager. I have a group of people on staff who train other people to do things, right? So one thing that I know how to do is speak on camera and teach people how to do things. So whether those things are fitness related or not is where it's changing for me, right? I've never taught people to do anything with fitness because I don't know anything about fitness. But they were talking about behavior change, and that is one thing that I do know about, and one thing that I have spoken about several times on this channel and on other live streams. And one of the things that people often ask is, what is like the one thing that has helped you the most throughout this whole journey, or what I call expedition, because I like to bring y'all along. And for me, one of those things is not giving in to instant gratification. And so that's one of the things that I wanted to talk about, was instant versus delayed gratification, and how that sort of can impact your habits or your behavior change. So recently in 2023, a lot of people have been talking about their goals, right? Your 2023 goals. And goals are great. I do think goals are great. They're a struggle for me. We've talked about that before, right? But one thing that I've also mentioned on goals is they can even be a SMART goal, which is an acronym meaning specific, measurable, actionable, realistic, and timely. Sometimes you'll hear it say appropriate, relevant, and timely, right? But it's a goal, right? To where you say, I'm going to do this by this date, sometimes including how, right? But that doesn't always change a behavior. I can make a goal happen. It doesn't mean it's the most productive or healthy way to meet that goal. And so that's why one of the things that I did in my 2023 goals was I did a breakdown of how then what behaviors am I going to do to support this goal moving forward. Because for me, when I look at habits, which is what a lot of people call them, right? They just call them habits. I'm working on my habits. What you're really doing is you're working on behavior change. You're working on changing your lifestyle. But one thing that I find that a lot of people sort of overlook in doing that is they're not looking at doing it for the rest of their life. But it's a lifestyle change that you really want to go after. And yet people are still in that sort of instant gratification of it. And that's not to say that instant gratification is bad, which I will also talk about here in just a moment. Oh, there's Deanna. Hey, Deanna, thanks for being here. Let's see what Deanna has to say. She says, for so many years, it was a practice to avoid instant gratification with food. Now that I'm calorie counting, mindful eating, I see that habit of trying. Wait, hold on. I don't know if that's me or you. Oh, you see the habit of instant gratification trying to come back. Yeah. So when you first start a health and lifestyle journey, right? That's what most of us end up calling it. A lot of us start on a weight loss journey. And I don't think that there's anything wrong with that. And in fact, in the beginning, I think for a lot of people, a weight loss journey is really good. And the reason for that is because you do get immediate gratification of weight loss for a lot of people in the beginning, especially if you're extremely overweight like I was, over 300 pounds when I started. The weight loss will come off easier for me starting at that weight versus if I had decided that this was my heaviest weight where I am now, more in the 170s, and people this size do start weight loss journeys, even smaller, right? But the weight will be more difficult to lose at someone at a smaller size and someone at a larger size. So a lot of people who, like me, started out heavier, start out with weight loss because you sort of get that instant gratification of the number coming down. But then it gets you stuck sometimes where you no longer are getting the instant gratification, but that's what you've trained your brain for. And you're not prepared for the delay of the gratification, right? And another way that I have talked about this is in my food choices. Because one thing that has really helped me, and I've said this all over the place, is that I don't eat a food today that I didn't prepare for. And I actually have a really good example of that today. Because this morning, well, also update, I guess, just really quickly, I went to the doctor to do my 1 month update it's not been quite a month yet. It's been a little over 3 weeks that I've been on my anxiety and depression medication. And doing well. I went all week last week, and I think I only cried once. And that is a huge improvement. The big sad is just sad. The anxiety is still there. But anyway, I went to the doctor for that checkup, and I was like, well, while I'm out and about, since I have the day off, I'm going to go get my car serviced. It needs a 30,000 mile service and an oil change. And they said it'd take about 90 minutes. Well, almost 5 hours later, I had done a big strength workout and had only had a protein shake. And I mean, they made popcorn all day long. All day long, they made popcorn. Do you know how good fresh popcorn smells? Have we talked about how I was like the popcorn queen at work? Like we would have a popcorn bar. Those popcorn is so good. But do you know what? I didn't have it on my I can eat that today list. And it's not a food I normally allow myself because it can be a trigger food for me. Because it smells delicious. And I really wanted it. And I really felt justified in having it because it's my day off. I've been doing really good. I started bargaining with myself and telling myself all of the ways that I deserved this instant gratification of this right here, right now, popcorn while I'm hungry, smells buttery and salty. Let me have some. I didn't eat it because it wasn't on my list for today. And that's really important for me to stick to that because it's one of the things that I have changed in my lifestyle that has helped. still wanted the popcorn at the time, but do you know what? I told myself, if you really want popcorn, then you can go and you can get you some popcorn. I can go right back to that place tomorrow and get popcorn. Ain't nobody gonna stop me if I really wanted it. I wouldn't do that, but I could if I wanted to. But already tonight, I got home, I ate. I don't want that popcorn no more. I was just hungry. I hadn't eaten. I was there for a lot longer than I anticipated, and I had not prepared snacks. But just like I was talking about earlier, when I was talking about my coach, I try to walk the walk and talk the talk. And so I say, I don't allow myself a food today that I didn't plan for. And I didn't plan for it. And so even though I wanted it, I didn't have it. And delaying that gratification feels good. And not only that, now I don't want it. Even though I was convincing myself of how worthy I was to have it. It wasn't in the plan. I wanted the instant gratification of the popcorn. I delayed, and now I'm happy with that choice because I didn't need it. It wouldn't have served me. I needed protein. I had done a big strength workout this morning. That popcorn wasn't going to do nothing, but probably just make me more hungry. And so I'm glad that I didn't do it. But it takes work and effort and thought to delay that gratification. So let me jump off that soapbox for a minute and see what's happening in the chat. Oh, that was you, Deanna. I think I figured out what you were talking about, though, Deanna. Hey, to Sherry, thanks for joining. She said, somebody told me you're welcome. What was that? Did y'all hear that? Did y'all hear somebody tell me you're welcome when I said thank you? What's happening in my house right now? It's fine. She said a lot of people will have that beginning of the year big losses, but those don't always stick around, right? The one thing that most people... Oh, hi, Christy. Oh, and Camille's here too. Hey. Hi, friend. Let's see. Who else is here? Jess is here. Yeah, Jess says, and practice. It's like a muscle getting easier and easier. Absolutely, because if you build a healthy habit, you have changed the behavior behind it. Cheryl said, y'all are really talking, so let me see what all y'all are saying. I love it when y'all talk. Cheryl said, once she started making changes, she knew she had to change more than just losing weight. She had to make changes for the rest of her life. The more changes she makes, the easier it is in all parts of her life. Absolutely, I agree with that. The more change you make, the easier other changes can become. I used to wholeheartedly believe that I did not have to love myself and could still love other people. And I don't think that that is wrong, but what I have learned is that I can love others a whole lot better if I do love myself first. And the more you practice, the more it becomes a habit. The more your habit changes the behavior behind it, the more you have lasting lifestyle changes. Mary says it's a good mind frame to have. She's working on that. She's done pretty good the last few weeks, but she's really had to argue with myself. And I mean, I'm all for arguing with yourself. If yourself is trying to sabotage you, fight back. You get to do that. It's your life. You can fight for it. And sometimes that does mean having to fight yourself, but that's okay because you're not that person anymore and you can fight that person. I mean, sometimes when, like I say, y'all watch my old videos, which is great, and I appreciate it. And I know that people watch those old videos to get inspiration, to see where I came from and where I am now, and that it is possible. But sometimes I want to fight that person in those videos. Like, what? It's like, once you get it, how did I not? Right? And then I struggle with the being down on myself for that, right? Or the one thing that I hate to do is disappoint. I hate feeling like a disappointment. And in a lot of ways, I feel disappointed with myself sometimes. But then I'm reminded, not only from myself, but from y'all and from others, that you don't have the story if you didn't go through the stuff. And it's the story that is also relatable to a lot of you. So it's okay that I didn't get it then, because if I got it then, I might not have been able to relay it as well as I can now. So, um, Camille says it took her years to understand that about love. Yeah, right. I was convinced that I didn't actually have to love myself. I can love others, but it's not as good. It's just not as effective. It's not as efficient. Yeah, it's just better. Oh, hey, coach. Thank you for making the live stream. We've been talking. We've been having a good chat. I've been having a good chat. Um, but yeah, just says that I was a different person, and that you did the best you could at the place you were at, right? And there's that quote, and I love that. You start where you're at, bloom where you're planted, all of those types of things, right? It's never too late. Actually, Kirsten was talking this morning about a channel that she follows, and I've seen some of them on Instagram, about people like in their 80s getting fit, like just starting to lift and things like that, right? It's really impressive. And it's at any age you can decide to make those changes. Christy says, I have evolved so much. That was my word of the year in 2022, and I think I did pretty well with it. And now we're just not going to be afraid to continue to forward progress and make all of those changes. Camille says that person from before was beautiful and brave and really scared. Once the scared was put in its place, you were good. I'm still a little bit scared, Camille, but I'm trying to not be fearful anymore. Absolutely, that is correct. And one way, like I said, that I do that is thinking about instant versus delayed gratification. Because, and another thing, which I may just jump right off the deep end here for y'all, but try to follow along with me, right? One of the big things behind behavior change that has always made a lot of sense to me. Yeah, well, that too. Kirsten says faith over fear. Absolutely. My God is strong enough, and I do believe that. And you can't have a testimony without a test. He won't put you through anything that he can't bring you out of. And now I'm out of it, and look at the story that I have to share. So anyway, I am proud of myself. Oh, I didn't even tell y'all. Let me tell y'all this story really, really quick, because it was funny, and seeing Kirsten kind of reminded me. When I went to the doctor today, I was actually wearing a long sleeve shirt. I wasn't wearing I just put on a t-shirt, actually, that I was wearing this weekend when I met my new little niece. But I was wearing a long sleeve shirt, and we were talking, and she said that I was actually maintaining my weight. She's like, I see you haven't lost any weight. She's like, sometimes this medication will actually help people lose weight. I was like, oh Lord, maybe that's why. I was like, I've been trying to maintain my weight a little bit. I was like, I've been trying to eat extra and even more on top of that to maintain. And she's like, you don't want to keep dropping weight. I was like, well, I dropped a little bit too much, too fast than I like, right? And so I wanted to make sure everything was leveled out. And she's like, well, what do you do? She's like, I know you said that you've been working out. So I told her that I did the boot camps, and and then I made a little muscle. And she's like, oh, she's like, come on, touch your arm. And she touched my arm. She's like, oh, that tricep has great definition. She's like, who do you work with? And so I had to tell her coach that I have an online coach. She's like, the definition there is great. She's like, you have the skin. She's like, that'll tighten up some. She's like, we can talk about that later. But even she was impressed with the definition in my arms, right? But it comes from the consistency in doing it all the time, even when you don't see the change. Because for months and months and months, people were saying that I was looking strong and that they were seeing definition in my muscles. And I'm just like, y'all are silly. Y'all aren't seeing nothing but just fat displaced in new areas. But I mean, it was displaced in new areas because there was muscle underneath it. Now I get that. Right now I understand that there are muscles in there, and that I lift weights over and over and over again. She's like, you lift 12-pound weights for an hour? I'm like, well, yeah, I mean, on most days. And so, yeah, it's not a thing that everybody does. and it does take discipline, and it's not always instant gratification, because a lot of the times I can't do that yet. It was where fitness was. Fitness is a lot of learning to love the delayed gratification. Um, oh, yes. Kirsten is feeling better, she says. Yeah, she wanted to touch my muscles. It was so funny because I almost think that even she was like, certainly she can't have that much muscle under there. She's losing weight. And she did say that it was impressive that I guess most people who lose weight don't put on muscle. They just lose the weight. And that's it's not been about that for me for a really long time. Now again, like I said, in the beginning it was, and it was about that instant gratification of I was really heavy, the scale comes down really fast. That is motivation to keep going, to see that scale move down until that stops being something that happens. And then it becomes a delay gratification to get it. But like I said, you've sort of already trained your brain into that instant gratification. So there are good things about instant gratification and negative things about instant gratification, right? And where it is in your life at the moment. Kirsten says, I jumped right in and I was determined. That is true. I am determined. Hala says that instant gratification is definitely a problem. It's just so easy, and it's instant. Jess says that she needed this talk. She's been working hard and feels like nothing's changing, but she knows she's getting stronger if you step back and look. Absolutely. That's the thing. So, and this is where I was going to head a moment ago when I said I'm about to jump off of a deep end. So just come with me, right? I don't know if any of you have ever heard of a man named Aubrey Daniels. But Aubrey Daniels, especially in my industry, is one of the people that we study that talks about behavior change. And one of the things that you may have heard referred to is a picnic analysis. It's it's a PIC or an NIC. So when it comes to behaviors, and behavior change and modifying the way you know, did y'all see that big old fly? Was that just me? Anyway, when you see, we're going to get back to the picnic analysis, right? So when you get back to behavior change, consequences, things of that nature, right? People don't often talk about the consequence, either positive or negative, to the behavior change. They don't think about that. They don't have that forethought in it all the time, right? But when you think of a behavior and a consequence, it's either positive or negative. So it's either a good thing or a bad thing. It's either immediate or it's in the future. So it's an I or an F, right? When you're looking at the acronyms. Or it's certain or uncertain. So the easiest way to get change is to have something that is positive, immediate, and certain. Because those are all the good things. It is positive. It's a good thing. Right now, 100% going to get it. Well, why wouldn't you make that change? But what if it was positive in the future and certain? I know I've heard a bunch of you say, well, I'm a procrastinator. I can get that goal because it's positive and it's certain, but it's in the future. So I'm just going to push. I'm not going to do it right now. It's in the future. It's not immediate. So even those are more difficult, even though it's positive and you're certain, right? So to your point, Jess, and I go through this same thing when it comes to fitness. I am positive if I pick these 12-pound weight ups enough times over and over and over, eventually I'm going to go to a heavier weight. As I do different exercises, if I stay with that weight, I'm going to be able to do more and more and more of them. But that's sometimes in the future. So when I was doing push-ups against a wall, was I looking forward to being able to do a standard progression push-up? Yes. And that's what I was working for. It was a positive experience. I was certain that if I kept at it, at some point I could do it, but it was going to be in the future. And so with that unknown, of when, it can make it harder to start. Or if you have the positive, right, the immediate, but it's uncertain, you don't know if it's going to work or not work. Sometimes those can be tricky, right? So when it comes to behavior change, you want to do things that are positive, immediate, and certain. And that's why a lot of people like the instant gratification, because it is positive, it is immediate, and it is certain. But it is not always, in behavior change, the healthiest way to change that behavior, right? It is often the easiest, but not always the most effective. So that's why, in my opinion, weight loss works really well in the beginning. And then the farther you get into it, we all start to adjust and look at different things outside of just the weight loss. I'm sorry, Ruby's on one this evening, it sounds like. I don't know what's got her all upset. You saw it? Maybe that's who said you're welcome? What'd you see? You saw somebody or something said you're welcome to me, right? When I said thank you? I thought maybe it was my Alexa or something. Anyway, so when it comes to instant versus delayed gratification, right? Is it positive? Is it immediate? Is it certain? Is it in the future? Is it uncertain? Is it negative? And those are all, the fly. Maybe that's who said you're welcome. Mary's funny. Mary's got jokes and I missed it. Thanks, Natasha. Yep, I got it. Natasha's there with you. I was not there with you. I'm all in my head about behavior change right now because that's what I've been looking at and thinking about. I don't have a Google Home device. My home is run by Alexa. She loves it here. She tells me what to do all the time. But yeah, so when you're talking about behavior change, it's easy to know that over time something will change, but if it's in the future, it can be harder because you don't know when, you don't know how long it's going to take, and you don't always see it immediately. And so our brains are scared of those types of things, and they don't always want to make those types of changes. And so again, it's not that instant gratification is bad. It's just, for me, in a lot of different scenarios, it is bad because I lie to myself into saying that it's because I've worked so hard or because I'm worth it, or, it's just, this is life. You can make this, accommodation this time, and you can. And there's nothing wrong with that. Like, there may be a day when I was in that same situation and I would eat the popcorn. But today wasn't that day, because today I wanted to stick to what I stick to. And for me, that was not eating something that I didn't plan for today. I was having a good day. I was not happy that I was having to be there for so many hours. It wasn't their fault that I didn't plan. So for me, that made me feel good about it. Is it okay to eat the popcorn? Sure. Could I have done that? Yeah. Am I personally happier that I didn't? Yeah, I am. And can I still have popcorn in the future? Absolutely. But I can also plan for it. And for me, that is what helps make this whole thing sustainable. Because when I look at goals and when I look at the things that I'm doing, I'm looking at how they'll impact the rest of my life. So how will continuing to lose weight impact the rest of my life? Because one of my goals is to get to 165 pounds. Well, as I continue to do things around health and fitness to change my lifestyle, I anticipate more weight will drop off. So it's a marker of, are those things in alignment, right? So it is a weight loss goal. So I don't want anybody to think that I'm against people using weight loss as a measurement. It's just that it's a tool, right? And then with YouTube, well, I want to grow my YouTube because I want more people to talk to and more people to help and more people to help me and more people to give me their ideas and more people to make silly jokes that I don't understand at the time. Fun stuff like that. And then my personal trainer certification. I mean, I think that one's pretty obvious, but so that I'll have the knowledge for myself and then can share with others, what I learned, because that's really what I enjoy doing is helping others. But first I have to be able to help myself. And in order to do that, I have to walk the walk of what I talk. And so I do try to do that. Am I perfect? Far from it. But do I try? Every day. Every day. And it's hard when you're outside of your normal routine. Like I was sitting there for almost 5 hours. And about an hour and a half in, I just got up and went for like a 30-minute walk just around the parking lot. Like they even, as I was looping back around, they're like, "Are you okay?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'm just sitting here. I'm not doing anything." I kept standing up and doing different, stretches and exercises and movements like every hour, just because I'm at that point now where I don't want to just sit there for 5 hours. In the past, that would have been a good day. Are you kidding me? Just sit here for 5 hours and not really do anything? Watch a movie, read a book? I ended up studying more for my personal trainer certification. I went over some of the information that I had already covered. So, it's different. I was studying about health and fitness. I was getting up and moving. I didn't have the popcorn, right? It's all these little things that in the moment, looking back, will I even remember that happened? Probably not. It's eventually not even going to become a story that I remember. Well, it may be because I've told it on the live stream, but it's one of those things. In the long run, is it going to be hugely impactful? Maybe not, but all of those instances where you're able to do those types of things for yourself are that important and do make that change. Okay, just needs 500 more steps. You're welcome. Go get them steps. You and your team got to get some steps. It's a steps challenge. My steps have been really low this week, and I feel kind of bad. Like I do. I want to do more steps because I am in a steps challenge. And even though I know it's I'm not in it to win it ever. I am in it to do extra and to push. And right now, that's not a good thing for me to do because of the skin flare up that I'm having. Pushing isn't a good idea, literally, as well isn't a good idea, but just pushing my body in that way isn't a good idea. And so there have been days where I barely got 5,000 steps. Even yesterday's normally my big step day, and I didn't get that many steps. We went one time around, and I was like, yeah, I'm kind of done. And like I said, I did the strength training this morning, which was great, but it's slow. And I mean, we don't get steps with that. Maybe a couple of hundred just from lifting my arms up and down so many times, but that's about it, right? But it's the fact that you do it every day and you do the best you can with it every day and you listen to your body and you rest when needed and you don't have that popcorn if it's not on your agenda for today. I'm not saying that has to work for you, but I'm just saying I think sometimes if you approach it from that perspective of thoughtfulness, it can be helpful and beneficial. Yeah, Kirsten says the same thing. Her steps are lower too. She can't help it, although it's killing her. Yeah, you need to recover. You're sick. You need to get healthy. You need to be able to, spend time with your family. Do boot camps with us and stuff like that. Oh, hollers are also horrible today. There's, it's hello, Teresa. Talk about thoughtfulness when you're doing things. Welcome, Teresa. But yeah, so it is hard when you're used to doing a thing and you can't do it at the level that you normally could, right? But if you keep at it and you take care of yourself, eventually you'll be back to where you were and you'll get there faster the second time. They always say, doing it again makes you better. There's beauty in repetition, Kirsten. That's something she always says in our workouts. And it's true. There is beauty in repetition. But it's beautiful if the repetition is good. If you're repeating things that aren't good for you or don't make you feel good about yourself, then it's not as healthy and it's not as good. Ruby, come here, bud. Come here, bud. Sorry, we're gonna see if we can get her attention. Nope, we got Barnum instead. Yay, yeehaw, we got Barnum instead. We didn't get the Barker. We got the cranky old man. Oh, you should have seen him yesterday, guys. I know this has nothing to do with what we're talking about, but welcome to a Your Pal Misty live stream. This one here was barking. The other one started howling. He didn't like that she was howling, and then started barking at her, howling, and then she's howling because he's barking at her, and it was like this vicious cycle. And I could not. I was like, I could not get it to stop. It was, whoo, there's something special. Also, right now, you'll notice he likes to be so close to my stomach all the time, just in general. But boy, it's been a hassle trying to keep him he's fine where he is right now, but if he goes lower, it's not been a good plan for us. We've been having some back and forth with where he can and cannot sit on my stomach this week. So, anyway, so yeah, that's one thing. That's what I wanted to talk about this evening was instant versus delayed gratification. How one's not necessarily better or worse than the other, but that sometimes for a lot of people, it's the delay that they find more challenging because it's also the uncertain of either when is it going to be in the future or is it even going to happen. But the trick is to keep showing up and keep doing it anyway in anticipation of, yes, it's going to change. Yes, it's going to happen. If you watch people who do it consistently, you see that change over time. And having that end goal is good, but making the daily changes in your habits, like I said, will ultimately lead to lifestyle behavior changes, which can then make it just part of who you are. I'm someone who wakes up and does boot camps, even though I'm still not the biggest morning person, right? I will wake up to work out. If anybody wants to work out, I'll work out. If anybody wants to go for a walk, I'll go for a walk. And you know, these are all things that I would never have done before. And now that's just the person that I am. If you want to talk to me about fitness, I'm going to talk to you about it. I'm going to bring up strength training. I was talking to my doctor this morning about strength training, and she knew it was important. And I told her that I believed it was important and that I was showing that it was important and how much it had helped me. And she's a doctor, but just because she's a doctor doesn't mean she's doing it. We all know things are good for us that we may not do, right? And for me, strength training is a good thing. And so I do it. Am I saying it's for everybody? That's on you. Just like I've always said, what you eat, what exercise you do, that's on you to do, right? And it's for what makes you feel the best, because the way you do it may be different than the way that I do it. That doesn't mean that the way that you do it is wrong. It means it's your lifestyle. And those are the changes that you have made to have the healthiest, happiest version of your lifestyle. And that's what's important. Deanna says, you fight the instant gratification of laying in bed for the gratification of feeling accomplished after a workout. Yeah, that's true, right? Because it is an instant gratification but it's warm and soft here versus I got to get up and my closet's going to be freezing cold. My closet is freezing cold all the time. Like it's on an outside wall. It's stupid. It's the coldest place in my house, but that's where all my workout clothes are. So I have to open it and get my workout clothes out of there. So yeah, you know, do you want it? No. So in that instance, the delayed gratification is another good thing, right? I think for me, in most instances, it has been my instant gratification that turns my brain off and allows me to make bad decisions. But it also lets me know sometimes what is a healthy instant gratification. Um, Kirsten says, knowing it and doing it are two different things. Absolutely. I mean, medical professionals, there will be medical professionals who will tell you, do not smoke. It is bad for your health, and will go outside and smoke a cigarette. Do they believe that it is bad for you? Yes. Has that changed their lifestyle? Maybe not so much. Right? Doing it and knowing it aren't always the same thing. And it's hard. It's not always easy to, like, I knew I would have to change things, and uh, and I've said this before. When I started, I was always working towards the end goal. And then every time I would get there, I would stop and just go back and put the weight back on, because I met that end goal. Now what? And so you go, and so I went back. It was like a road trip. I'd get there, I'd be like, this is fun. Looks nothing like what I expected. Kind of a letdown. We're headed back to where we know we feel comfortable there, right? And so that's what's changed for me now. Is now I don't want to go back there. I don't want to do that, and I don't want to do that ever again. Let's not do that anymore. Let's just go ahead and change everything now. Just keep moving forward. Do I know what it's going to look like? No. Am I even certain that it's going to happen? No. Do I keep moving forward anyway? Absolutely. Absolutely, I do. So, I'm going to start to wrap it up for this evening. I appreciate you all being here. I know I've sort of been a little all over the place on this topic, but it's just something for me that has really made a big change, is allowing myself to still give myself things and treat myself well without it always being that instant gratification of, I'm sure some of you have heard the give a mouse a cookie thing too, right? So there's just a bunch of things when it comes to behavior change that are very important. And for me, I didn't come into it thinking that I would be changing my life, but that's exactly what I've done. And I've changed it for the better. And I've changed it in a fashion to where not only do I not want to go back, I won't, because now it's part of my lifestyle. I've even mentioned before, when my father passed away, there were thoughts in my head of, well, what if I just lay in this bed? But that's not who I am. I'm the person who gets up and goes to boot camp anyway. Even if I'm on vacation, or even if I'm not feeling well, I get up and I do what I can, right? And I walk that walk, I talk that talk, and I want to be here to share that with y'all. And I want y'all to be here to share it with me when you do it, because you do. And I know that sometimes when you're going along and you're losing the weight, you're losing the weight, you're losing the weight, and then it stops, and that instant gratification is gone, and that motivation dies. That's where discipline comes in. Discipline and consistency. I'm going to share the thing. I'll probably share it on Instagram, but Coach shared something today in our chat, and I'm going to see if I can pull it up and show y'all like the picture of it. But it was, it's one of those things where, have you ever seen something that is like so simple and yet so incredibly hard? So this is what she posted. The 2 secrets to success. Number 1, start. Number 2, don't quit. And there's always the joke that people don't like quitters. Be a quitter. But what you need to quit is quit quitting on yourself. Just do it. Do it anyway. Do it anyway. Do it scared. Do it happy. Do it tired. Do it sick. Do it to your best of your ability in that day. Start. Don't stop. It's one of those things that sounds so easy. If only it were that easy. It is. It is that easy and it is that hard. It's just how you decide to look at it. And so most days for me, it's super fun. And then for some days, it's harder than others. But I get up and do it anyway because I've changed that habit by modifying the behavior to where now it's part of my lifestyle. Hello, Alan. Thanks for joining, Alan. I know these are super early for you where you are. I appreciate you jumping in here at the end. We had a nice chat this evening about instant versus delayed gratification and just sort of behavior change. Might have been a better way. I sort of went more into behavior change than just instant versus delayed gratification. I even talked to y'all about Aubrey Daniels. That's something I don't normally do with people outside of my industry, but it is very interesting, actually, if you're really interested in behavior change. He has a lot of different books that are often for leaders and organizations and things like that, corporate, but even on a personal level, having those tactics have really helped me. So there are a bunch of them out there. Like I said, it came up in my ACE personal trainer certification on behavior change because that's one thing that they've been talking about in the book. They talk about progressions. They talk about behavior change. They talk about all of the things that I like. So when I talk about behavior change, again, habits, same type of thing, right? You're doing a habit. If the habit becomes a consistent, you've changed a behavior. And you just want to watch what behaviors you're consistently doing and trying to keep them positive. Deanna says that I just said that it is that easy. Yeah, I remember a time where I would not have said that either, and that was before the behavior change happened. And Camille has to go to sleep. Thanks for the knowledge share. You're welcome, Camille. Anytime. You share all your knowledge with me, so I'm happy to share a little bit piece of something that I know and am passionate about for y'all. So that is going to do it for me this evening, though. Again, I appreciate you all being here. I am going to be doing my live stream with Kirsten this Thursday, the 19th, 7 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Central on her channel. We'll both be promoting that on our different social media platforms. I should have a video out tomorrow or Wednesday, which will promote it as well. So if you can join, we would love it. We're going to be talking about my transformation over the last almost 3 years. My anniversary is on February the 2nd. Will be 3 years that I started changing my life. So I'm excited to talk to you about that. And I'm excited to hopefully have some of y'all there in the chat to talk about it with us. So you might hear some of the same things because I do talk a lot of the same things, but that's because I believe them and they work for me. And that's what I like to share. And I like when y'all share what works for y'all. So like this video if you like it, just like if you didn't, subscribe if you know how, and comment down below. What would you say is one of the behaviors that you have changed that has most impacted your overall lifestyle change? And until next time, I'll see you real soon. Have a great week, everybody. I really do appreciate y'all being here. Have a good one. We'll see you later.